The day I found out I was pregnant, I was sitting alone in the obstetrics hallway of a public hospital when I saw my husband holding his ex-girlfriend in his arms, openly admitting he was the father of the child she was carrying. My baby never even had the chance to be known by him. It was lost amid his cold indifference and betrayal. Later, that same ex-girlfriend staged a fake fall, framed me, and even came to my home to attack me, sending me to the hospital. My husband stood by the entire time. Not worried about me at all, only afraid that she might not be able to handle it. I didn't cry, I didn't beg, I didn't forgive. Instead, I gathered evidence, called the police, and filed lawsuits: infidelity, asset concealment, intentional assault, one charge after another. All dragged into court. I was sitting alone on a blue plastic chair outside the obstetrics department, clutching the lab report I had just received. The doctor had told me I was pregnant, 6 weeks. I had wanted to surprise Daniel, so I didn't tell him I was coming in for the checkup today. Then I saw them, my husband Daniel, walking out of the ultrasound room with his ex-girlfriend Lily. Lily was holding a prenatal exam report, smiling radiantly. Daniel looked down at her with a tenderness I hadn't seen directed at me in a very long time. "Thank you, Daniel." Lily suddenly hugged him. "I finally have a child of my own." My breathing stopped. Daniel didn't push her away. He simply patted her back and said calmly, "I guess I'm the child's father too." My fingers dug painfully into my palm with my other hand. I instinctively touched my lower abdomen where a tiny life had just been confirmed, and 10 meters away, my husband was acknowledging another woman's child. I didn't rush over. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I took out my phone, turned on the camera, and aimed it at them. Zoomed in. Closer. I captured their embrace, Lily's prenatal report, and the gentle expression on Daniel's face, an expression I had never seen before. Click, click, click. Each shutter sound felt like a knife stabbing into my heart, yet my hands were terrifyingly steady when they turned to leave. They never once noticed me sitting in the corner. Daniel's hand hovered protectively at Lily's waist, so natural, so familiar. That was when I realized betrayal doesn't need the cover of night. It happens at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon in the obstetrics hallway of a public hospital. Under harsh fluorescent lights that leave no secrets hidden, my child and his child confirmed into existence in the same hallway, one welcomed by the world, the other never even given the chance to be known by its father. I folded my lab report neatly and slipped it into my pocket. The photos on my phone, I uploaded them to the cloud and set a password. Then I stood up. My legs felt weak, but I held myself steady. As I walked out of the hospital, the sunlight was blinding. I touched my stomach and whispered, "Baby, Mommy will protect you." Then I took a cab home and began organizing every bank statement, property deed, and screenshot of chat records from the past few years. That was when the tears finally fell, but even as I cried, I smiled, because I knew from this moment on, I was no longer the Emily who waited at home for her husband to return. Daniel didn't come home until 10 o'clock that night. As he took off his coat, I was sitting on the couch and said calmly, "I went to the hospital today." He froze for a moment. "What happened?" "Obstetrics," I said, lifting my phone and holding up the photo of him hugging Lily. "Care to explain?" Daniel's face drained of color, then flushed red. He walked toward me, not to apologize, but to grab my phone. I pulled my hand back. "Emily, listen to me," he said, switching to that reasonable tone he always used. "Lily and her husband have been married for 5 years and couldn't conceive. Medical tests showed it was her husband's issue. They just wanted a child, so..." My voice was soft, "So I donated sperm, medically, legally, clean. No emotional involvement," he said, like he was explaining a charity donation. "Lily is married. We're just old friends helping out. Can you stop being so emotional?" Emotional, the word slapped me across the face. My miscarriage, our marriage, my dignity, all reduced to emotional. "Did you sign a donation agreement?" I asked. He froze. "Was it registered with a hospital? Are there legal documents?" I stared straight into his eyes. "Or did you just sleep with your ex, get her pregnant, and now you're trying to dress it up as medical donation?" Daniel's expression darkened. "You're insulting me." "No," I said, standing up and meeting his gaze. "You're insulting my intelligence. If this was just a donation, why did you go to her prenatal appointments? Why were you hugging her? Why did you say you were the child's father?" He opened his mouth, but no words came out. That was the moment I finally saw him clearly. He had prepared this entire narrative for betrayal. Legal, clean, emotionless, Every word was a blade designed to carve my pain into something noble, something justified. "We should talk about the baby," I said, changing the subject. "I'm pregnant." Confirmed today. Daniel's expression grew even more complicated. There was no joy, only irritation. "Now's not the time," he said, turning toward his study. "I'm exhausted. I have a meeting tomorrow." The study door closed. I stood in the living room, listening to the soft click of the lock. It was a small sound, but in my heart, it was the sound of a door closing forever. When my husband heard I was pregnant, his response was avoidance. When another woman was pregnant, his response was hugs and acknowledgement. That night, I didn't sleep. I logged into every social media account of Daniel's that I could access. I printed out credit card statements from the past 3 months and marked every suspicious expense: transfers to Lily, high-end restaurant bills, jewelry store receipts. I finally understood that betrayal wasn't just physical. It was money, time, attention. He had been slowly transferring everything that belonged to our marriage to someone else, and I, like an idiot, had been planning what color to paint the nursery. At 3 a.m, I poured myself a glass of water. Cold water hit my stomach, and my mind suddenly cleared. This wasn't a relationship problem. This was war. And I had just located the enemy's territory. The next morning, the cramps started. I called Daniel. No answer. I texted him. "I don't feel well. I might need to go to the hospital." Half an hour later, he replied, "In a meeting, go by yourself." Every word felt like an ice spike. On the way to the hospital, blood soaked the back seat of the cab. The driver panicked and ran 2 red lights to get me to the ER. The doctor's face was grave. "Threatened miscarriage. Emergency surgery required." I was lying on the gurney when my phone vibrated. A social media notification. Daniel had posted a new update. In the photo, he and Lily were clinking glasses at an upscale restaurant. Her baby bump was already slightly visible. Caption: "Celebrating new life." A mutual friend, Ryan, commented, "Congrats on becoming a dad early, Daniel." Dozens of likes. My fingers trembled as I kept scrolling. Lily had posted the same photo. "Grateful to have the most important person in my life always by my side." Daniel liked it and replied, "As I should be." Meanwhile, his legal wife was lying outside an operating room, waiting to sign consent forms for a miscarriage procedure. The nurse asked me, "Where's your family?" "I don't have any," I said, taking the pen and signing my own name. Every stroke hurt, but nothing hurt more than my heart. The surgery was quick. The anesthesia made me drowsy, but I knew very clearly, my baby was gone, the same man, 2 children. One celebrated by the world, the other discarded on a surgical tray. When I returned to the hospital room, it was already dark. My phone showed missed calls from Daniel, and one message: "Not coming home for dinner tonight." With clients, with Lily, there was no difference. I lay back against the pillow, staring at the pale ceiling. My body felt empty, but my mind was full, so full of rage and clarity that it felt ready to explode. At 9 that night, Daniel finally called. I answered but didn't speak. "Emily, how was today?" His voice sounded tired. "But not because of me. I miscarried," I said. Silence. A long, unbearable silence. Then he said, "How could you be so careless?" "Careless? My child was dead." "And he called it careless, Daniel." My voice was frighteningly calm. "Let's get a divorce," on the other end of the line. His breathing turned sharp. "Are you insane? You want a divorce over this? This?" I laughed softly. "Yes. This. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow." I hung up and powered off my phone. The hospital room was quiet, so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Steady, strong. The Emily who loved humbly and the unborn child both died today. What survived was someone else. A woman holding a blade. Daniel rushed to the hospital before dawn. His eyes were bloodshot, not from crying, but from anger. "Emily, can you be more mature?" he hissed, lowering his voice but shouting with every word. "You're going to destroy our marriage over a misunderstanding. Destroy this family?" Before, I would have explained, cried, begged him to understand. Today, I didn't. I leaned back against the pillow and watched him perform. "I already explained Lily's situation. It was medical donation. Why won't you let it go? The baby's gone now, and I'm devastated too, but you can't pin this on me." "Are you done?" I asked. He froze. "If you're done, leave. I need rest." I turned my back to him. Daniel stood there, stunned. He probably thought I'd retreat like before, apologize, compromise, soften, but he was wrong. From the moment he walked into the room, I hadn't even asked where he'd been last night. It didn't matter anymore. I was discharged the next day and went straight to my parents' house. I didn't tell Daniel the address, my mom cried. My dad was furious and wanted to confront Daniel. I stopped him. I'll handle it myself. That's when I began to organize everything systematically. I opened my laptop and created over a dozen folders: asset records, chat logs, medical reports, witness information, legal statutes. One by one, piece by piece, I discovered Daniel had started transferring assets 6 months earlier. Money was being withdrawn regularly from our joint account into an unfamiliar one. I traced it. It led to a shell company. The legal representative was Ryan. The same Ryan who had congratulated him on becoming a dad online. Company shares already placed under proxies. Our marital home quietly mortgaged last month. Even the so-called medical donation was a lie. I consulted a lawyer. Legal sperm donation must go through a licensed institution, be anonymous, and require zero contact between donor and recipient. What Daniel did was simply adultery. Each discovery made me calmer, because I finally understood. This marriage had been a trap long before I realized it, and I had been dancing inside it wearing rose-colored glasses. Now the glasses were off. I could see every spike clearly. On the 5th day, I met with 3 divorce attorneys. After hearing their strategies, I chose Nathan Cole, the most expensive and the most ruthless. What do you want? He asked. Daniel leaves with nothing, I said. And I want Lily to pay for what she did. Nathan raised an eyebrow. The third party usually doesn't bear legal responsibility. What if she committed intentional assault? I asked, opening my phone and showing him a video. It was home surveillance footage last week. Lily had come to our place to borrow a book. In the living room, she deliberately smashed a porcelain piece my mother had given me, then cried to Daniel, "Emily seems to hate the gifts I give her." Nathan smiled. Interesting, but not enough. It will be, I said, locking my phone. When I stepped out of the law office, the sunlight felt warm. I took a deep breath. The air smelled like freedom. From today on, I was no longer prey. I was the hunter, and the first lesson of hunting is patience. Lily came looking for me on her own. I went back to the apartment to pick up some belongings, and she happened to step out of the elevator at the same time. When she saw me, she froze for a second, then quickly put on a gentle smile. "Emily, I was just about to look for you." She was carrying an elegantly packaged box of bird's nest soup. "What do you want?" I didn't unlock the door. I stayed in the hallway. "I want to apologize for what happened before." Her eyes reddened instantly. "I really didn't know it would hurt you this badly. Daniel and I are really just friends. About the baby, I just wanted a child too much. My husband, Does your husband know the baby is Daniel's?" I cut her off. Her face went pale. "Does Mark know?" I pressed. "That another man goes with you to every prenatal appointment." "You!" Lily suddenly raised her voice. "Why do you have to be so vicious?" I already apologized. Her shouting drew neighbors out of their apartments. Then suddenly Lily swayed and collapsed to the floor. The box fell open. Bird's nest soup spilled everywhere. She clutched her stomach, tears pouring out instantly. "Emily, why did you push me?" she sobbed. "My baby." I didn't move an inch. The elevator doors opened. Daniel rushed out. When he saw Lily on the floor, his eyes went bloodshot. "Lily, are you okay?" "She pushed me," Lily cried, her voice trembling. "I just came to apologize, and she pushed me." Daniel looked up at me, fury in his eyes. "Emily, how could you do this?" "Lily is pregnant." Whispers filled the hallway. Every neighbor looked at me with condemnation. I laughed. I actually laughed. "Security cameras," I said calmly, pointing to the corner of the ceiling. "The property management installed new ones last week. HD, with audio." Lily's sobs stopped abruptly. Daniel froze. "Want me to call management and pull the footage right now?" I took out my phone. "Or would you like to keep acting?" Lily scrambled to her feet, far too agile for a pregnant woman. She grabbed Daniel's arm. "Let's go." "Wait," I said. They turned back. I stepped closer to Lily and spoke quietly, so only she could hear. "Next time you fake a fall, pick a place without cameras." And pregnant women instinctively protect their stomachs, not their faces. "Your acting is terrible." 0 points. Her face flushed red, then white. Daniel tried to speak. I raised my hand to stop him. "You'll receive a lawyer's letter tomorrow," I said. "From now on, all communication goes through attorneys. If you come to me privately again, I'll call the police for harassment." I unlocked the door, stepped inside, and locked it behind me. With my back against the door, I could hear Lily crying outside and Daniel comforting her. This time, I didn't cry. I smiled. I pulled out my phone and sent the audio recording I had secretly captured to Nathan. Evidence 1. I typed, "The White Lotus has officially gone black." Nathan replied instantly. Received. The show begins. I walked to the window and watched Daniel carefully guide Lily into the car below, holding her like a priceless treasure. Once upon a time, I had been held like that too. Now I understood. Some men's tenderness is cheap, they give it to wives, ex-girlfriends, anyone. What's precious is a woman's clarity. Once awake, she never sleeps again. A week later, Daniel suddenly called me, urgency in his voice. "We need to talk. Now. I'm at home waiting for you." I didn't want to go, but he said there were important documents I needed to sign. What documents? "You'll see when you get here." I hesitated, then went anyway. I brought a voice recorder. I shared my live location with my parents. When I entered, only one lamp was on. Daniel sat on the couch. A document laid out in front of him. "Sit," he said. I didn't. I stood and looked at the document. Divorce agreement. I skimmed it and nearly laughed. The house went to him. Savings split 70-30 his favor. Company shares had nothing to do with me. And I had to waive all claims regarding marital fault. "You're serious?" I asked. "This is the best deal," Daniel said flatly. "If this goes to court, it won't be good for you. You don't really have solid evidence, and I have things you wouldn't want exposed." "A threat? Blatant? Like what?" I asked. He was about to answer. The doorbell rang. Daniel frowned and went to open the door. Lily stood outside. Her eyes were swollen red, her expression unstable. "Why are you here?" Daniel lowered his voice. "Is she inside?" Lily shoved past him and rushed into the living room. When she saw me, she screamed, "Why won't you let us go? Why do you have to destroy my life?" I took a step back. "Please leave. You're the one who should leave." Lily lunged toward me. "This is my home. My Daniel. My child needs a complete family." She grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. "Let go," I said. Daniel stood nearby. He didn't move. "Lily, calm down," he said, but his body stayed frozen. "Why should I calm down?" Lily shrieked and shoved me hard. "Get out. Get out." I lost my balance. My lower back slammed into the sharp corner of the dining table. A flash of pain exploded in my vision. Before I could recover, Lily grabbed a glass vase from the table and hurled it at me. Instinctively, I raised my arm. The vase shattered against it. Glass shards pierced my skin. Then she shoved me again. This time, I fell backward, my head crashing against the marble floor. A dull thud. The world began to spin and fade. Through blurred vision, I saw Daniel finally move, not to help me, but to restrain Lily as she tried to attack again. "That's enough," he shouted at her. "Don't cause a death." Then he turned to me, his voice distant. "Emily? Emily, are you okay?" I tried to speak. No sound came out. As my consciousness slipped away, I heard Lily sobbing. I didn't mean to. I was just too angry. I heard Daniel comforting her. "It's fine. I'll handle it. Go home first." Then his phone call. "Ryan, I need a favor. Emily fell at home and needs to go to the hospital, but I don't want to make a big scene." So that was it. In his heart, my life mattered less than Lily's emotions. Don't cause a death wasn't about saving me. It was about Lily not being able to live with guilt. As darkness swallowed me, I had only one thought: if I survive, they will pay. I woke up in the hospital in pain everywhere. My head was wrapped in bandages, my arm had 12 stitches, a mild concussion. The doctor said I was lucky. If the angle had been slightly different, I might not have survived. My parents were sitting by the bed, eyes swollen. My mother's hands trembled as she held mine. My father clenched his teeth. "I'll kill that bastard, Dad." My voice was hoarse. "Get my phone." The screen was cracked, but it still worked. I opened the recording app. From the moment I walked into the apartment, everything had been recorded: the screaming, the shoving, the vase shattering, Daniel's words, "Don't cause a death," perfect evidence. I called Nathan. Half an hour later, he arrived with an assistant and a folder. After listening to the recording and reviewing my medical report, his expression turned icy. Intentional assault, major marital fault, fraud, and asset concealment. He listed calmly, enough to strip him of everything. As for Lily, "I want her in prison," I said. Nathan nodded. Intentional assault causing serious injury carries 3 to 10 years. I'll arrange top forensic evaluation to ensure it qualifies as severe injury. And one more thing, I added, she was pregnant then, but what about now? Nathan's eyes lit up. Crimes committed during pregnancy can delay incarceration, but if the child is no longer a factor, I understand, he said. I'll check her current condition. I turned to my parents. I need you to help me with something, anything, my father said immediately. Find Mark, Lily's husband. Tell him everything, bring proof. My mother hesitated. What if he protects her? He won't, I said coldly. Mark cares deeply about his reputation. And their marriage was a business arrangement to begin with. Once this is exposed, he'll cut ties fast. Nathan looked at me approvingly. You learn quickly. I was forced to, I said. For the next 3 days, I planned everything from my hospital bed. Nathan filed criminal and civil charges against Lily. We applied for asset preservation, freezing all of Daniel's accounts. Anonymous reports were sent to Daniel's company board, attaching evidence of his affair, misuse of company resources, and falsified medical records. Every move landed exactly where it hurt most. On the 4th day, Daniel finally came to the hospital. He looked worn down, bloodshot eyes, hollow face. Emily, he said hoarsely, can we talk? Privately? Settle this quietly? My lawyer is outside, I replied. Talk to him. I was wrong. Daniel suddenly grabbed my hand. I was completely wrong. Lily and I are done. Her husband knows now, everything's blown up. My job. The board is investigating me, Emily. We've been together for years. Can you really watch me fall like this? I pulled my hand away. I looked at him, the man I had loved for 8 years, the man I thought I would grow old with. Daniel, I said calmly, do you remember where you were the day I miscarried? He froze. You were celebrating new life with Lily, I said for him, clinking glasses, accepting congratulations. While I lay alone signing surgical consent forms, he opened his mouth. I continued, do you remember when Lily smashed the porcelain my mother gave me and your first reaction was to accuse me of being petty? Silence. Do you remember when my head hit the floor and your first words were, don't cause a death? Lily can't handle it. His face drained of color. So no, Daniel, I smiled, tears in my eyes. I don't feel sorry for you. I feel very capable of watching you lose everything, your job, your money, your reputation, your freedom. I want you to regret this for the rest of your life. He collapsed into a chair. You'll regret this, he muttered, if you push me too far. I don't know what I'll do. Oh. I pressed the call button. A nurse entered. This man is threatening me, I said calmly. Please have him leave. I also need increased security. The nurse looked at Daniel sternly. Sir, please leave. Daniel stood up, looked at me one last time, and walked out. The door closed. I exhaled deeply. So this is what it feels like to take your kindness back. It felt good. Nathan pushed the door open, holding a fresh stack of files. Good news, he said. Mark has officially filed for divorce. And he's willing to testify that Lily and Daniel's relationship went far beyond medical donation. Even better news, he added with a smile, Lily's husband provided key evidence she never went through an official IVF clinic. That so-called medical donation was just an affair. And last week, she miscarried due to emotional stress. I froze. The baby's gone, Nathan said, which means she no longer has any legal protection against incarceration. Sunlight streamed through the window, warm and golden. For the first time, I felt truly alive. Things escalated faster than anyone could have imagined. Nathan accidentally leaked some information to the media. Soon, a hot thread appeared on a local forum. Corporate executives' affair causes wife's miscarriage. Mistress attacks at her door. Photos, transcripts, hospital reports, all included. Even though faces were blurred, anyone in the know could immediately tell who they were. Daniel's company stock dropped 15% in just 2 days. The board held an emergency meeting, suspended all his duties, and set up an investigative committee. On the 3rd day, Daniel was officially fired. The announcement was stern, due to severe personal misconduct and violation of company ethical guidelines. Social death had begun. Lily's situation was even worse. Mark swiftly filed for divorce, demanding she leave empty-handed and sue her for emotional damages under fraud. Lily's family business took a hit. Partners pulled out of deals. She turned to Daniel for help, but he was barely holding himself together. Banks started demanding mortgage payments, but his accounts were frozen. A video of the two of them screaming at each other in a cafe went viral. In the clip, Lily cried, "You promised you'd take care of me and the baby." Daniel snapped, shoving her away. I've lost my job. How am I supposed to take care of you? The couple who once clung to each other now shifted blame, pointing fingers, ugly, but real. A week later, my injury report came back. Second-degree serious injury. The police officially filed charges and summoned Lily for intentional assault. When she first came to the station, she wore sunglasses and a mask, trying to keep her dignity. But the next day, the media published photos. Heiress-in-law arrested for intentional assault. It was over. The most interesting part of this storm, however, was Ryan's betrayal. Daniel's best friend, the same guy who had congratulated him in their friend circle for becoming a dad early, reached out to Nathan. "I've got evidence," Ryan said. "Records of Daniel transferring assets, proof of the real controllers behind shell companies. And he even asked me to manipulate medical records to make Lily's baby look like a medical donation. Your terms?" Nathan asked. "Immunity from prosecution," Ryan said bluntly. "I was involved in some of his schemes, but only as an accomplice. I'm willing to be a tainted witness." The deal was struck. When Nathan brought the new evidence to me, I couldn't help but think, betrayal spreads fast. Human nature, Nathan said. When disaster hits, the first to sell out are your own allies. At the final pretrial mediation, both Daniel and Lily showed up. They sat across from me, looking 10 years older. Daniel looked at me with eyes that had once pleaded and seethed, now empty. Lily cried relentlessly, her makeup a mess. The judge asked, "Do you accept mediation?" "No," I said. "Emily." Daniel suddenly stood. "Do you really have to be this ruthless?" The bailiff held him back. I looked at him calmly. "Daniel, remember the vows you read at our wedding? In sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, to love, honor, and cherish, until death do us part." He froze. "You didn't wait for death," I said. "You just ran into an ex and forgot every promise. So now, the vows are void. Between us, only the law remains." I turned to the judge. "I insist on my demands. 1. Divorce. 2. Daniel leaves empty-handed. 3. Lily bears criminal responsibility and civil damages. 4. Compensation for emotional distress." The judge struck the gavel. Mediation rejected. Trial date to be set. The sunlight outside was blinding as we left the courthouse. Nathan walked beside me, quietly. "This is the last one. You ready?" "I'm ready," I said. 8 years of love. It's time to close the chapter. On the day of the divorce trial, the courthouse was swarming with reporters. Daniel and Lily arrived separately, heads down, avoiding cameras. I wore a simple black suit, accompanied by my parents and Nathan. No looking back. The trial began. Nathan presented the evidence first. Proof of Daniel and Lily's affair, records of asset transfers, falsified medical records, and footage and recordings of Lily's intentional assault. Every piece of evidence was like a knife, piercing the other side. Daniel's lawyer tried to counter, claiming my marriage with Daniel had already collapsed and that Lily's actions were emotional outbursts, not intentional. But the evidence was overwhelming. Ryan testified in court, detailing how Daniel orchestrated asset transfers, had him hold shares, and tried to forge medical records. He literally said, Ryan said, looking at Daniel, "Emily can't get a penny because it all has to go to Lily and the baby." The spectators gasped. Lily's lawyer tried to argue that she had been emotionally unstable and pregnant at the time. But Nathan presented new evidence. Lily's post-miscarriage psychological evaluation, showing she was fully aware and competent to act, and Mark's testimony, proving that Lily had an improper relationship with Daniel even before the pregnancy. Medical donation. Nathan sneered then. "Defendant, please present the donation agreement, proof from a medical institution, or any records of anonymous donation." They couldn't produce any, because it didn't exist. The judge's face grew increasingly stern. When it was Daniel's turn to speak, he stood up, his voice hoarse. "I admit, I had feelings for Lily, but the breakdown of my marriage with Emily was a shared responsibility. She long neglected the family. We'd lost all affection." Objection. Nathan raised his hand. "Irrelevant to this case. Whether the marriage had affection or not does not affect the defendant's gross misconduct." Objection sustained. The judge said. Daniel slumped back into his seat. Finally, it was my turn to give a closing statement. The courtroom went silent. I looked at Daniel, the man I had known for 10 years, loved for 8, married to for 5. "Daniel, today is the last time we meet as husband and wife. I do not regret having loved you, but I regret loving too long enough to almost die from your indifference and betrayal. Many people asked me why I didn't forgive. Why I brought this to court: forgiveness is for those who have erred but recognize their mistake, not for someone who repeats it and tries to pin the blame on others. You didn't just destroy our marriage, you destroyed an unborn life, a woman's trust, and every dream I had about love today. What I seek is not revenge, it's justice, not to make you suffer, but to make those responsible accountable. I turned to the judge. Your Honor, I request the court to rule in accordance with the law, to uphold the basic dignity and rights of a wife, a mother, and a woman. When I sat down, my hands were shaking, but not from fear, from finally speaking the truth, all the words I had suppressed for so long, the pain that woke me in the middle of the night, the burden I carried alone. Finally, it was heard. An hour later, the judge delivered the verdict. Divorce granted. Due to Daniel's gross misconduct, all marital assets, properties, savings, and shares belong entirely to me. He must also pay additional compensation for emotional damages. Lily was convicted of intentional assault. Given the severity of the injuries, second-degree serious injury, she was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Civil damages will be handled separately. The gavel fell. One final, decisive blow. Daniel collapsed in his chair, his face ashen, as Lily was led away by the bailiffs. She glanced at me, eyes full of hatred, but mostly despair. I didn't look away. I met her gaze, until she vanished through the door. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Nathan walked beside me, shielding me from the crowd, saying only, "Justice has been served, my client needs rest." Once in the car, my mother hugged me and cried. My father, eyes red, patted my shoulder. "You've suffered, daughter." I shook my head. It's over, really over. Those late-night tears, the smell of disinfectant in hospitals, the cramps in my abdomen, the scars on my head, all in the past. From now on, I am Emily, just Emily, not anyone's wife, daughter-in-law, or victim, just myself. 3 months after the verdict, I gradually heard news about them. Daniel, stripped of everything, tried to find work, but no one in the industry dared hire him. Affair causing wife's miscarriage. Fired. Asset transfers exposed these labels. Stuck. He moved to another city, reportedly working in a friend's small company as a salesperson, earning only 1/10 of his previous salary. Mutual friends said he'd aged a lot, half his hair gone white. Lily's appeal was rejected, and the original sentence upheld. Before going to prison, she had a total mental breakdown, diagnosed with severe depression, receiving treatment at the prison hospital. Mark divorced quickly and remarried into another wealthy family. Lily's family business collapsed. Her parents moved to the countryside. Ryan, having testified, avoided prosecution and moved abroad, cutting ties with everyone back home. The farce was over. No redemption, no plot twist. No, years later they regretted it. Fairy tale. Those who did wrong paid the price, nothing more. And my life finally a new chapter. Once my injuries healed, I returned to my old company. My boss didn't treat me differently for the divorce. Instead, he promoted me. A woman who came out of that lawsuit unscathed, he said, has undeniable capability. I took on new projects and excelled. Using the money from the divorce, I bought a small apartment and decorated it just how I liked. Light-colored walls, big bookshelves, a balcony full of plants, weekends with my parents, occasional trips with friends, life simple, yet fulfilling. Nathan would occasionally invite me to dinner, talking about cases, law, life. He respected boundaries. Once he asked, "Any plans for the future?" I said, "First, I want to understand myself fully." He smiled. "If you ever need a partner, think of me." I smiled back. "Sure, but no rush at all." After that marriage, my understanding of love changed. It's not salvation, not a home, not everything in life. It's two whole people choosing to walk side by side, and I'm still learning how to be whole. That night, I stood on the balcony of my new home, gazing at the city lights. My phone rang. Daniel. From a new number. I hesitated, then answered. "Emily," his voice older, rougher. "I just want to say I'm sorry, truly sorry." I said nothing. "I know it's too late, but I'm sorry for you, for the baby, for everything we had. Thank you." I said, not forgiveness, just acknowledgement. I hung up and blocked the number. Some wounds heal, but scars remain. They don't hurt anymore, but they remind me. I survived. The wind blew, carrying the scent of early summer. I took a deep breath and smiled. Freedom tastes incredible. I don't need anyone to save me. I have already won back my life. And this is just the beginning.